Hey, welcome. Today we're going to dive into some absolutely incredible innovations. We're talking about everything from science that could literally rewrite the rules of aging to some seriously clever ideas that make our daily lives just, well, a little bit smarter. So let me just start with a huge question, something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. What if you could actually stop aging? Not just, slow it down a bit, but bring it to a screeching halt. Well, believe it or not, this might be way closer to science fact than you think. There's some truly revolutionary research that came out of Israel, and it could totally change how we think about getting older. Now, the study itself, it was pretty small. We're talking about a really focused group of just 35 people, and all of them were over the age of 64. And look, it's a small sample size, for sure. So you got to think of this as more of a fascinating first step, kind of like a proof of concept, not the final cure for aging just yet. So what did they actually do in this experiment? Well, the process itself was surprisingly simple. For 3 months straight, these folks had a routine. 5 days a week, they'd go into a pressurized oxygen chamber for about 90 minutes and just breathe pure oxygen. That's it. Sounds almost too easy, right? But the results were anything but simple. So after those 3 months were up, the researchers took a look at all the data. And what they found wasn't just interesting, it was absolutely, completely mind-blowing. Get this, scientists announced that not only had the aging process pretty much stopped in these people, but on a cellular level, their bodies had basically reverted back to a state of a 25-year-old. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Wow. This really gets at a key difference, right? The difference between your biological age and your chronological age. Chronologically, of course, they were still 64 or older. You can't change the calendar. But biologically, their bodies were firing on all cylinders like they were decades younger. What happened was the little protective caps on their chromosomes, which usually get shorter and shorter as we age, they had actually gotten longer. They basically turned back their own biological clock. Okay, so while some people are out there trying to reshape our actual biology, other innovators are focused on making the here and now just a little bit better. So let's switch gears and take a look at a few super clever gadgets that bring a little touch of genius to our day-to-day lives. So here are 3 simple but honestly brilliant little inventions that solve those small, super relatable problems. We're talking a smarter toothbrush, a TV remote for some personal listening, and a suitcase that solves a massive travel headache. First up, this toothbrush. The concept is genius because it's so simple. The bristle head just pops off from the handle. So when your bristles are all worn out, you don't throw the whole thing away. You just replace that little head. It saves you money, and just as important, it cuts down on a ton of plastic waste. It's a total win-win. All right, next, here's a perfect solution for all you late-night TV watchers. It's a remote that has a headphone jack built right in. You just plug your headphones directly into it, and you can watch your show without bothering anybody. No more tripping over those long cables stretching across the living room. And finally, for anyone who travels, this is a total game changer. A suitcase that has a scale built right into it. You just pack your bags, lift the handle, and bam, it tells you the exact weight. You can finally say goodbye to that moment of panic at the check-in counter and those dreaded overweight baggage fees. So we've looked at innovation on 2 totally different levels here. On one side, you have this massive idea that could fundamentally change our entire lifespan. And on the other, you have these smaller, clever ideas that make our daily lives just a little more seamless. And that brings us to the final question for you. From the incredible possibility of reversing age to the practical genius of a suitcase that weighs itself, which kind of innovation gets you more excited? Is it the moonshot that could change all of humanity, or the clever hack that just makes today a little bit better? Let me know what you think.